Allow me to extend a warm welcome to all the viewers on the internet and around the world. It is sunrise on YouTube, morning on Facebook, noon on Twitter, midday on Threads, afternoon on Twitch, sunset on Instagram, and evening on Rumble. I am your host, the Ancient One, the Bachelor Supreme, the Phantom Menace, he who remains, and the master of the deceptive arts. We are broadcasting live directly from the sanctum of solitude and the citadel at the end of time. Good evening, everyone. I am the Ancient One, the Bachelor Supreme, the Phantom Menace, he who remains, the master of the deceptive arts, and I return once more to you to be the voice of all vasectomites. And today is a truly sad day. Today, sadly, we have to start with some tragic and devastating news. And I took it upon myself to be the bearer of this bad news, so I could give it to you in a subtle and gentle way that I hope that you will be able to receive it. I didn't want you to hear this from someone else, for the fear that they might misrepresent the information and distort the details and somehow affect the way you receive these facts. You may have already heard it from other people. The rumors are rife and they are already out there. Or perhaps you might have been able to glean some type of prophecy or prophetic detail from your own experience and understanding. But let me state the truth of the situation now, once and for all, so that there can be no misunderstanding. The bachelor life is dead. I'll say it again. The bachelor life is dead. The bachelor life as a philosophy perhaps can endure in some type of historical context, but in practice, indeed, and in reality, there is no such thing as the bachelor life. And this is something that sadly I have no choice but to demonstrate in cold, hard facts and the constantly disappointing truth of our reality. As a lifelong bachelor, it hurts me to tell you this truth. It really affects me down to my core. But the reality and the circumstances that we face as a species, we could hardly call this where we are and where we have ended up as a species. We could hardly call this success. There is no indication of any meaningful, sustainable, successful endeavor that can be identified as the bachelor life or even accredited to the bachelor life anywhere in this world. At this point in the timeline, and based on the numbers that bear this out, we can confidently state that the bachelor life is truly dead. The Benderism is the presiding and dominant philosophy of this timeline. And it is only a matter of time before every existing, known to exist or self-believing bachelor is meant and will be made to bend the knee. Think of the digital revolution that we are in. In truth, what it is the ultimate data collection mechanism ever known to mankind. They know every single thing about you, not because they're spying on you, but because you are offering this information. So they know if you're a bachelor, they know if you're single, and if you're not, all they need to do is go through your texts and your search history and that kind of thing, and they'll be able to determine exactly the kind of person that you are by the type of information and details that you give out and that you receive. But let's be clear. What we see in terms of bachelors is really an extinct species, or at the very least, an extremely endangered species. And I've alluded to this for a very long time, that there are so few bachelors out there that, quite frankly, it barely makes a difference. The bachelors of the future are going to be the Bachelor 2.0, he who returns. Men who have been in the dark dimension, who have been married, had kids, and came out on the other side through divorce, and survived, only to not want to repeat the process again. But the numbers that that demonstrate that marriage and divorce are ultimately going to be the course that most people will face, and will go through, and will have to bear. The numbers are staggering. Now, it's one thing, if you make it and you stay in the marriage, and so forth, and you're successful. But for those that do not, those that don't go back to getting married, those that divorce and don't get remarried again, those men, they make the best bachelors, but they will be Bachelor 2.0. The numbers that I'm talking about, these are the numbers that show that 99% of men will marry at least once in their lives, and at least 98% of men will have at least one child. That's every human being on earth. There are no bachelors here, right? There are no bachelors. 99% of men will have at least one child in their lives. 99 will be married, and 98% will have at least one child during the course of their lives. This tells you that every human being on earth is going to be intimate and ultimately produce children, right? And the vasectomites that will come in the future are all going to be men who, quite frankly, have already had children. Very rare does somebody go and get a vasectomy without having kids already, right? So what they'll tell you is that currently 45% of men in the world don't have children, right, and are currently unmarried. Now, this is not an indication of success for the bachelor life, right? The fact that 45% of men are unmarried and have children, this is not an indication of success currently, right? So let me put these statistics together. Over a period of your life, so by the time you are neutralized or pass on, you will have a child, right? Currently, of the men that are living, 45% of the men in the world right now don't have a child, right? And are not married. Now, this is an indication of a failure of the bachelor life. It is an indication of failure of our philosophy, and a failure of our movement, and a failure to coordinate, to organize, and to execute, right? 95% of those men, right? 95% of the unmarried men without kids, those men are under 25, 26 years old, right? Those men are under 25, 26 years old. So when they say 45% of men are unmarried, what they're talking about is men under 26 years old, right? Men under and again, not all the men under 26 years old, but most of them are under that age, 25, 26 years old, right? So effectively, what I'm telling you is when they say that 45% of men in the world don't have kids, they're talking about children. They're saying all the children in the world don't have kids, but all the adults do. That's what they're telling you. They're telling you that as a child, no one is expecting you to have children, but as an adult, you're expected to do so. This is also identified in intimacy statistics, where most of the men under this age are, well, quite frankly, these are the most poorest men in the world. So everyone under 18 is under the responsibility of their parents, right? So we don't count those. But after high school, over 18, this includes college students, by the way. You are now considered an adult, even though you're still part of your family's economics budget and so forth, right? But effectively, 18 to about 25, 26, 27, to about 30. You could say 18 to about 30. These are the poorest people in the world. These are the people who are just starting out their lives, have no assets, have no experience, are still getting their education, still putting it together, right? Haven't worked 10, 15, 20 years, haven't had enough time to build up anything, really. All your experience is that of a child under your parents' care. So your parents have a tremendous amount of experience raising kids, doing budget, going on trips, working, right? For the 18 years that you've been doing nothing, your parents have been killing it at work, just killing it. 6 promotions later, right? So you're competing with people that are on their 7th promotion, which is all the way up the top of the ladder. 7 promotions, you're close to partner CEO. That's your 7th promotion, right? So that's 18 years. That's 18 to 20 years of experience. So, and he's moved companies and that kind of thing. So he's had like a ton of experience. So, that's what they're saying here. Effectively, they're comparing the children 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, all the way to 25, and they're comparing those children with their fathers, 35, 40, 45, right? 50, 55 years old. If you're 55 years old, you probably have a kid that's in his 20s, right? You could have easily a kid that's in his 20s. Man, you could be in your 40s and have a kid that's in his 20s, realistically speaking, right? So, that's the difference that we're talking about when they're talking about bachelors. But when we look at who's controlling the money, who has the power, who has the riches, who has the experiences, who's being promoted, these are all what we call benders, right? These are the men that are running the thing, right? They're running the world, running the companies, running the schools, running the police, running the governments, running the world, right? It's not the 25-year-olds, right? These are all children, right? And so effectively, we're comparing the fathers and the sons, which again proves the statement: the bachelor life is dead. If what we are doing effectively is comparing the father with the son and saying, well, the father is married with kids, but the son is a bachelor. Yeah, of course. That stands to reason, right? Give it a few years, both of them are going to be married, right? At 25, the number of men with children is under 20%. All right. By 25, the number of men with children is less than 20%. Right. But by 60, it's 55 to 60, it's over 90%. By 60, it's actually closer to 98, 99%, right? So the bachelors are the men, rather the children, who haven't bent the knee yet, but they will. That's all that there is. I don't want to talk about other people's shows, but I was watching The Prognosticator the other day. Shout out to The Prognosticator if you ever stumble across these videos. I don't quote many people. I quote Sun Tzu and then The Prognosticator, for good reason, right? Guys, watch The Prognosticator. I'm really not going to promote many shows on here, but find out who The Prognosticator is and watch him. Right? Every day he'll tell you, I'm the prognosticator. And when he says it, that's him. Right? But I was watching his show every day, and there are men there agreeing with him every day, saying how right he is, saying how he saves lives, saying how he's improved their finances, their mentality, their mental health, their spirituality, how he's motivated them, not just through the way they think, but through their logic, but also through some heartbreaking information, but also by relating to them and through his own demonstration. Really, it's the full show. It's the full package. You need to watch The Prognosticator. But I couldn't help but realize how many of his followers will come out and say, my baby mama, my ex-wife with the kids, the women I have kids with, my girlfriend is pregnant, my this. It's always, even if you agree with the philosophy, the numbers are here. And they're telling you that 99% of you are going to falter. This is a complete wipeout, man. This is a defeat of the bachelor life of epic proportions. There is no other aspect of life that has been so completely decimated and shattered as is the bachelor life. 99%. There's no other area of life where something has failed and lost so abysmally. Not even DNA tests. Not even vasectomies. Like vasectomies, like 2% of men will get a vasectomy. 99% of bachelors fail. Like, you know what I mean? We bachelors have a worse statistic than vasectomites. And vasectomites are practically non-existent, which tells you that there are no such thing as bachelors. Right? This has to be the case. And every day these people will call the prognosticator and just complain about the situation they are in because they are helpless. When in fact, what they need to do is to get that vasectomy. What you need to do is to freeze your sperm and get yourself a vasectomy. No more baby mama drama. No more crazy exes. No more nothing. No more nothing. Right? No more mind games. No more, I missed this date and I missed that date. Right? No more surprised urinary tests. The ones with the strips. No more strips. Right? But otherwise, what we're talking about is a complete defeat. You will bend that knee. 99.9%. You will bend that knee. And then you'll come back again out to the bachelor life where you gotta face the same conundrum and end up with the same outcomes. When they talk about the male loneliness epidemic, they are really talking about bachelors. And again, we're talking about men that are under the age of 25. Right? That's what they're really talking about. They're not talking about male loneliness pandemic of 36 years old. No, that's not really how it plays out. It's all the guys, it's all the young guys. It's all the young guys, And you have to understand, all these young guys, all these under 25s, all these bachelors that I'm talking about, they would love nothing more than to get a woman. just to get a woman who likes them. They can hang out together, do fall in love, grow together, and so on and so forth. Build a bond, a partnership, and grow as individuals, build a family, grow the society, the community, the country, the nation, and the world, and fulfill their biological imperative to humanity. This is benderism. This is the full effect of benderism. These young men would love nothing more than to bend the knee. There is not a single young man right now who, given the choice to live by themselves for the rest of their lives, or given the choice of having a counterpart, would choose to be alone. There's no one that would choose. And I mean, there are some who would choose it for a short period of time, a few weeks, a few months, but eventually they're going to want to go out there. Ultimately, this is the truth. This is what they want deeply, deeply, and they'll pursue it and spend any amount of money on it. And they'll do this to the point where we're failing at this endeavor, failing to get a counterpart, failing to get somebody to stand above them as they bend the knee, will induce depression and anxiety in them. And it may lead to feelings of failure, and even the desire for self-neutralization. You know what I'm talking about. The thing that no bachelor should ever do. Remember, for benders who follow the philosophy of benderism, finding a match, a partner, what they call a soul mate, right, is the ultimate goal. And it is not just the ultimate goal, it is the source of victory, right, and the path to triumph. Of course, they are completely wrong. This is the path to destruction, not the path to salvation. The truth is that, for the most part, the bachelor life, as it currently exists, as it is currently known, is a fiction. It's not real, right? And is merely a point of discussion, a philosophy, an idea. It is not a practice, a sustained action anywhere in the world by any man, right? There is such a thing as monk mode and so forth, and for religious and health and practices. That's that 1%, right? These are people who abstained from relationships for religious purposes, for health reasons, right? And really for philosophical reasons, right? Guys like me are really, really, really stubborn. But the philosophical reasons, like, this is like, no, this is not happening, right? Effectively, it's guys who do it for health reasons, men and women, who abstain from the romance wars for health reasons, and religious reasons. Those are the two really biggest ones. You're not finding one who's abstaining from relationships because they don't believe in relationships. This is extreme. This is my position. But I understand that I've taken an extreme position only to demonstrate a contrast. Only to demonstrate a contrast. If I took this position in terms of not being able to even justify, to demonstrate that contrast, I'd be considered insane and easily dismissed and discredited, right? But it is there to demonstrate the contrast effectively, right? But what we're talking about is something that is, it's like, talking about the Roman Empire, right? Or the Peloponnesian Wars, or the Persian Empire, or the the dynasty of Mao Zedong, or the Dutch East Indian Company, right? Things like that, right? We can merely learn from the existence of these things. But quite frankly, these are things that are gone and may never return. Right? The ancient Romans are gone. The ancient world is gone. The Dutch East Indian Company is gone. And it'll never return. Right? It may have survived, who knows, but it will never return. Neither will the bachelor life. And the statistics are there. You don't believe me? Have a look. 99% down the drain. Right? You will only encounter a bachelor in the future in movies, in books, in short social media, online clips. But rare is a man with neither a wife nor a child. And rare is a man who is neither the son of a man or a woman. Right? So everyone is either has a child or is the child of somebody. Right? There are no bachelors. To look at it objectively and without judgment, and we have to ask ourselves then, what is the bachelor life exactly? What is this thing that we call the bachelor? Beyond just the definition of an unmarried man. The bachelor or the bachelor life is not a path as I have described it. Neither is it a destination. You may have heard me say the way of the bachelor, right? This implies the methodology, the techniques of the bachelor, not so much a path, right? It's a way of doing things, the style of a bachelor, right? The bachelor life is really a question to a choice. The choice of being a vasectomite or a knee bender. The choice is very simple. Will you freeze your sperm and get a vasectomy, thereby being a vasectomite? Or will you have a wife and kid? Right? Will you have a counterpart and a fledgling and thereby bend that knee? For this reason, because I have already made my choice. I have walked the bachelor path, or the way, I have lived the way of the bachelor. Let me rather say I have followed the methods and the steps. Literally walked it, the path of the bachelor, the way of the bachelor. Walked it, lived it, ate it, slept it, right? And my decision is made. I'm a vasectomite, and I'm here because I am a vasectomite. Indeed, yes, I'm the Bachelor Supreme. I believe that I've gotten to the end, to the edge of the bachelor life. And I haven't seen it all, but I've seen enough. I've seen enough to make my decisions about this bachelor life. And I can tell you that for myself, while I fit the definition of an unmarried man, while I fit the definition of the word bachelor, I cannot see myself merely as only this. I have to come to realize my own truth that not only has the bachelor life died in society and in reality, in fact, it has also died within me. For I'm not truly a bachelor, and I haven't been for a very long time. I am a vasectomite. I realized that I am truly a fully evolved vasectomite. After having had my vasectomy, I find that I'm no longer saddled with the burden of trying to make that impossible calculation. The impossible calculation of trying to find the right person, the right woman to marry, the right woman to inseminate and avoid not inseminating the wrong one, right? And then to try and forge a relationship, a bond with this person that will survive years and years and decades. And I realized that for every single man in the world, this is still a very real issue. Every single day, you must contend with either trying to find the right person or decide if you have already found the right person and then just live with that choice. It is because my choice is already made that I really cannot see myself as a bachelor anymore. My evolution has been made, and there are still bachelors, billions of bachelors under 25 who still have to make that choice for themselves. And then there are those men who are over the age of 30 whose decision has already been made, right? And some will still have to contend with that decision. Others might have to decide again after a breakup, after a divorce, after having had a child with one person. It may happen that you have a child with another person, or you become a step parent because you met the right person, but they already have a child, a stepmother or stepfather, or you might come in with children and they might come in with children, and both of you become step parents. I mean, it's a chaotic mess. It's a chaotic mess. And you are the one that has to make that decision in this mess, in these muddy waters. You have to swim in these muddy waters. Whereas my evolution is already complete. And I cannot pretend to be as I once was, to be as a young bachelor, to pretend that I still have to contend with the same issues and make the same calculations, because I do not at all. It is you who has to do this. And I made my decision, and I believe my decision was the right one and the mature one. I got a vasectomy. Right? So I cannot go out and make any children. Right? I cannot ruin anybody's life through this. But you can. You can ruin people's lives. And you cannot be allowed to do that. You cannot be allowed to be having children and not take care of them. Sadly, many, if not all, have to bend that knee. And you have to bend that knee for life, because you and your kids have to walk this path together. Right? If you will not transcend as a vasectomite, which I have to encourage you to do, if you cannot, if you will not, and if you do not get a vasectomy, then I have to insist that if you're going to be intimate with a counterpart, so let's put it all together. If you refuse to get a vasectomy for whatever your reasons, and you are still intimate with counterparts, if you are still having intimacy with counterparts, and you inseminate and impregnate them too, then I'm telling you, you've gone too far. You've done too much. Because you have the option, you refused the option, you took the other path. You have to bend that knee. You've gone too far. You've ignored the advice. You've refused the price, the cheap price of $1,550, $1,550, $1,600. If you freeze your sperm, it's only $50 more, right? And you have decided to incur the cost of $18,000 to $20,000. $18 to $20,000 to have a child. And don't make it be twins. Don't let it be twins. You know the equation with twins, right? It's 1 plus 1 equals 5. Yeah, it's 1 plus 1 equals 5. They'll smack you easily $50,000 to try and have twins. Right? You have to understand that. But this option of becoming a vasectomite is not just limited to young men and to bachelors. Every man should have the option and does have the option of becoming a vasectomite. And as such, and this is also another issue that I have to address. As a vasectomite, I must understand that this option is not just only open to bachelors, it's available to every man. And I have to treat that platform as such. Not only is this option available to every man, even those bachelors who decide to bend the knee, and all of you are gonna bend the knee, right? But even the ones that have children, that already have children, that already bent the knee, and this is the way that you can rise again, by taking control of your reproduction. This option is always open to you, right? And until you get that vasectomy, now, freeze your sperm, get the vasectomy. That's the full cycle. That's the full process, right? But if you already have kids and you're sure about it, go ahead, get your vasectomy. Don't worry about freezing sperm, right? But if you don't do it like this, then you have to bend the knee. And that's what today's edification is about. It's about how to make decisions. It's 7 steps on how to make decisions, right? And we are faced with many bachelors, rather, let me say, are going to be faced with a very serious decision. Are you going to have these kids first and then get a vasectomy? Or are you going to get a vasectomy and then decide if you want to have kids, freeze your sperm and get a vasectomy, and then decide if you want to have kids? This is really the choice. This is what really the bachelor life has become. It's really not a lifestyle or a way of life. It's a choice. And you have to decide, are you going to get that vasectomy or are you going to bend that knee? But as for myself, really, I need to leave the bachelor life behind. I can only comment on it from years of experience and convince you who are currently bachelors to join me as a vasectomite. This is my position now. I am truly the voice of the vasectomites. Yes, I'm the bachelor supreme. I'll never let go of the bachelor life. It's in me. It's entrenched in me. I wouldn't know what else to do or any other way to live. But I am also aware that those that are there will not survive, down to 99%. But those that want to survive, well, the Bachelor Supreme is here to offer you that choice. And that's really, all I can do is indicate the options, right? And try and persuade you, not coerce, right? To try and persuade you to see this philosophy in a certain way and then follow those steps. When you become a vasectomite, as I have, to follow the bachelor philosophy, easiest thing that you can do, right? I still follow the bachelor philosophy and I will forever and ever. Because of my vasectomy, my resolve is even strengthened. But can I suggest this for you? No, not without a vasectomy. Because you will embrace an ideology of freedom, of liberty, of self-determination, self-preservation, and then have a kid. And that kid is going to blow all of that out of the water in less than a day. You won't be able to sustain it. Not without that vasectomy. not without that vasectomy. So, all of you bachelors, all of you undecided, let's look at today's article. Let's look at today's edification together, and then let's see how we can get you to making the best decision. Here it is, today's feature presentation, 7 steps to effective decision making. There is no author accredited to this, but it comes from the University of Massachusetts, Dartmouth, and there is their website, umassd.edu, and so forth. I will not be repeating that website again. Decision making is the process of making choices by identifying a decision, gathering information, and assessing alternative resolutions. It begins, right? So here we go. It's about making choices, identifying those decisions, gathering the correct information, and then assessing, looking very carefully at what is the alternative. Using a step-by-step decision-making process can help you make more deliberate, thoughtful decisions by organizing relevant information and defining alternatives. Very good information so far. This sounds very clear and concise. This approach increases the chances that you will choose the most satisfying alternative possible. So, let's have a look at them. Step 1, identifying the decision. You realize that you need to make a decision. Try to clearly, that should be defined. Try to clearly define the nature of the decision you must make. This first step is very important. Yes. So the first step is to decide what is the decision. For us, it's very clear. Are you going to bend the knee or are you going to become a vasectomite? Right? There's really no other alternative. This is the world that we live in today. All right? So these are the choices. Gather relevant information is the next step. So procedure. So wait, let's start right at the top. The first is always going to be the cost, right? The cost in money, in resources, right? Then the cost of skills, the cost of knowledge, the cost of information, and so forth, right? How much work, how much effort, how efficacious you're going to have to be, right? Then you gotta calculate like things like time, right? How long is something going to take to accomplish? So the longer something is going to take to accomplish, you have to understand that eventually your patience and your strength is going to diminish with time, right? So you want fast and effective results, right? So I would argue that getting a vasectomy is a fast and effective result, and not is going to lead you to a long, drawn out, difficult, expensive conflict. It reads, collect some pertinent information before you make your decision. What information is needed? The best sources of information and how to get it. This is very good stuff, right? So what information do you need it? And where can you get it and how can you get it, right? This step involves both internal and external work. Some information is internal. You'll seek it through a process of self-assessment. Know thyself. Know yourself as you truly are and stop looking at yourself as you wish to be. There are people who see themselves as very funny individuals and they are not. They think that one day they are going to be superstars and you're not. If you wanted to be an actor and a performer, you need to have started at around 13, 14 years old. If you're in your 30s and 40s, the best thing you could probably do is get a podcast. But seriously, you should be well and comfortable, well advanced and quite comfortable in your career after a certain period of time. All right. But you need to know yourself, man. You really, really need to know who you are. Look at your work, look at your environment, look at your circumstances as they really are. And don't look at things like lost opportunity, right? Don't say, if I had done this, then that. You have to look at where you are and assess where you want to go and how you're going to get there, right? Know thyself. Know thyself. Other information is external. You'll find it online in books from other people and from other sources. I get most of my information from published, journals, articles, things that I try to reference and say, this is what I'm discussing. This is where I get my information from, and you can go and look. That's why I have the link, the topic, the title, the author, the date, all that information there to give credibility to this information as well as to myself, of course, right? But the external information, I think you need to find it in places that, if they're not reliable, other people can go and confirm also that this is unreliable. So other people need to go and be able to see where and how you got that information, so that if it's not credible, you'll know, right? And seek other information. What I would not do is rely on other people, right? I would not rely on people. People are liars, man. I'm going to tell you the truth now. People are liars. Most people are liars. And they'll tell you something that they think will be helpful to you, but also make them look good. And people will talk about things they have no experience or knowledge or training in all the time, right? Some, okay, maybe some experience, but like what people will have is they'll have like a negative experience with a lawyer, and they'll have nothing good to say about the lawyer, right? Or lawyers as a whole, right? So like you really can't take people at their word really about almost anything. I like to look at studies and patterns, and those studies and patterns will tell me everything that I need to know, at least in general, about most people. So take the statistic, for instance, that indicates that most people are intimate at least twice a week on average. This is 100 times a year, right? Over 100 times a year. So even if somebody is not hitting 100 times a year, you can be certain they're at least at 60, right? So if again you're concerned or you're not sure about how to assess a situation with a specific person, you could always look at the numbers and statistics to say, what do the numbers indicate that this type of person would do? Are they on social media? There's a 75% chance that they are. 80% chance. There's like 7 billion people on the internet. I think that's a 90% chance that they're on the internet, on social media, right? Almost a 99% chance that they have a smartphone, right? Almost a 99% chance that they're getting 100 DMs a day, likes and all kinds of things, right? So those kind of statistics will tell you, so this person's been intimate 100 times, they're in contact with other people, they have a smartphone, they have, just by looking at them, right? Are they wearing makeup? Those kinds of details will tell you everything you need to know about a person. And then what they will say coming out of their mouth, you can be almost certain it's going to be an absolute lie, right? I would not trust anything that they say, right? But reliable sources and statistics, try and find out. This is what I do very often. I look at statistics, definitions, things that help me determine what humanity is really like, and then I respond to that. Right? But what people tell me about themselves and who they are in the moment, you can ignore that. Right? You want to know who they are over a long period of time and over a lifetime. And statistics will give you that information. What you don't want to do is you don't want to guess, right? You don't want to guess what you know, what you don't know. Work with the statistics. It's always much better. Identify the alternatives. So, on the one hand, we have bending the knee. On the other hand, we have freezing your sperm and getting a vasectomy. So, as you collect your information, you will probably identify several possible paths of action or alternatives. You can also use your imagination and additional information to construct new alternatives. In this step, you will list all possible and desirable alternatives. So, when it comes to the use of imagination, you want to use your imagination to create a final destination, right? You want to use your imagination to say, when I'm the Bachelor Supreme, I want to look like this physically. I want to have this type of money and live in this type of house and have this type of a lifestyle. When I'm a vasectomite, I want to be able to, to engage and encounter this type of counterpart and not have to deal with that type of counterpart and so forth, right? You want to use your imagination to create your ideal set of circumstances and a destination. Then you want to use real tangible information that will help you to get from where you are to your destination. And usually, based on your income, you can actually calculate. So if you want to make, say, $1 million, based on your current income, you can calculate exactly how many months it will take you to get to $1 million. For most people, it's almost like 8 to 10 years. You're looking at 10,000 hours of work. That'll get you to $1 million, right? So if you're working, doing your overtime, doing your extra time, taking your promotions as they come, changing from one company to another to take a better pay but do a similar job with similar responsibilities, making all the right moves, you're looking at about 8 to 10 years. That's about 10,000 hours, right? That'll get you to your steps. And you need to have real steps to imaginary goals. Have your goals be imaginary. I want to sell 1 billion records, whatever your goals are. And then ask yourself, how does one sell 1 billion records? And then stick to that plan. But you need real, tangible information with details. You need to know what's in the contracts. You need to know what contract you're going to need, with who you're going to need that contract with, what's going to be in the contract, what's going to be left out of the contract. You need to know the times, the dates, everything. And you need to take action, right? This is how goals are achieved, right? But the use of imagination alone is called dreaming. Right? If you have a desirable goal and all you want to do is dream about it, I can only guarantee you one thing: failure. Right? So what we're talking about when we're talking about alternatives here is real tangible goals. If you are saying bachelor for life, how do you live as a bachelor for life? I'm going to suggest freezing your sperm, getting a vasectomy, and then getting back to work. But if you think that you're going to live the bachelor life and date every single day or every single weekend and be online swiping, I don't know which direction people swipe, up and down, up is yes, down is no, I'm just guessing, right? I don't know if it's left or right. I never swiped anything and I could care less. I really could care less. But if you're going to be doing all that, right, sending DMs, liking pictures, right, and then thinking that you're going to make it, there are statistics that indicate there's a 99.9% that you won't make it, which means you're not going to make it. Not as a bachelor. You're definitely going to get someone inseminated and they're going to make you bend the knee, right? So if you want to live the bachelor life, you have to have real steps and you have to identify what are the alternatives, right? No imaginary stuff. It's either this, the vasectomy, or it's that you bend the knee. This is the truth, right? You cannot say, well, I don't want to get a vasectomy and I still want to go out and date and expect to not have any children. No, that's insanity. That's not going to happen. And no one's going to allow you to think like that. Right? You can think like that before the kids are born, and that's okay. We'll allow your delusions. Right? You don't have responsibilities. We will allow your delusions. But once you have kids and you're talking about child support court isn't fair on men, we can ignore you. We are definitely going to ignore you. I'm going to ignore you. I don't care not one single bit how much your child support is. I could care less. I hope they take every single cent from your salary because you should have got a vasectomy. If you're on child support, you're not getting any sympathy from me. Absolutely no sympathy. And I hope that child support is exactly $1,550 a month. That's what I suggest that they do, actually. Some of these child support settlements are really low, right? Because they base it on the person's salary. What they need to do is work out how much what's the minimum it costs to raise a child, right? And I'd say it's $1,550 a month, which is the cost of a vasectomy. If they did you like that and you knew it's either this or this, it's either pay $1,550 for a vasectomy or $1,550 every month on child support. I'm sure that they could do that, right? This doesn't mean that everybody pays $1,550. No, that's just the minimum payment for all of you, regardless of how much you make a month. If you made $1,550 exactly, that's how much they need to take from you, right? Because you're stubborn and you won't listen, right? And then the rest of you that make more, then they can raise yours to equalize the household, right? Because you can't have a household where you got jacuzzis and swimming pools over there, but over there it's a 1-bedroom home. No, they gotta equalize those households. So, here's a jacuzzi over there, we gotta have a jacuzzi over there too. That sounds fair to me. And I know there's some of you that think it's unfair, and I want you to know I don't care. I don't care at all what you think. You should have got a vasectomy. Now you have kids, you want to complain about being fair? No way. Pay, man. Pay. And I'll be those 18 years. They should make it 21 years. Just give you the full hit that you can suffer, and endure, man. 18 years just doesn't seem enough for me. When you compare how much a vasectomy costs and the cost of incompetence is, I think they should just raise the cost of incompetence. Really, really, that's what they should do. That's what they should base inflation on. The extent of incompetence. Then you'll see the true cost of humanity. And you'll understand that, we've actually been getting a discount. Let's move forward with confidence. Number 4 says weigh the evidence, right? So compare the two. What information is coming from the benders and what information is coming from the vasectomites. So you bachelors, you gotta weigh this information and weigh the evidence. Draw your information and emotions to imagine what it would be like if you carried out each of the alternatives to the end. Oh, this is great. I say keep the end in mind. What type of ending are you going to have in those romance wars, in those relationships? And what type of end are you going to have as a bachelor? People imagine that they're going to have an ending as a bachelor where they're decrepit and alone, maybe in a big house, but all alone. right? And days go by and nobody knows that you're gone. This is not true. This is not true. Most bachelors die surrounded by people who love them, right? And most knee benders die, or rather, they are neutralized or meet their neutrality, surrounded by people who want to pick their pockets, right? This is really how it plays out. Because these are people that depended on you to survive. So, they'll be standing there thinking, wow, what more can we take? Right? So think very carefully about the end. Imagine the end, but realistically. Evaluate whether the need identified in step one would be met or resolved through the use of each alternative. Right? So, what exactly are you trying to achieve as a bachelor? Freedom, liberty, self determination? And what are you trying to achieve as a bender? Right? You're trying to grow yourself by having it. So as a bender, you're trying to grow yourself by having a family. So you're trying to grow as a man. Counterparts are trying to grow as a woman by having a family, and you believe that that family is what grows the community around you, and that community is further grown into a society. So the larger the community, the bigger the community. That society is going to strengthen the country and strengthen the nation. The nation is what builds humanity. So the benders, they believe that they are advancing humanity through having a family, right? So it starts with themselves, having a family by bending their knee, and ultimately humanity benefits. Of course, this is completely wrong. It continues to say, as you go through this difficult internal process, you'll begin to favor certain alternatives, those that seem to have higher potential for reaching your goal. Finally, place the alternatives in a priority order based upon your value system. There we go. Right. So again, it comes down to what it is that you value. What's your philosophy? What's your true belief, and what are you trying to achieve? Effectively, they say here that what you want to do is to choose the ones that you like and the ones that will benefit you the most. I say forgo the ones that you like and focus on the ones that will benefit you the most. Because if you go with the ones that you like, you're gonna go with binge watching shows all day, playing video games all day, dating all day, eating restaurant foods and takeaways, no exercise, no reading, right? When you're actually supposed to be doing the opposite, right? So you have to decide what is actually beneficial, right? What is it that's going to get you the results, and what's not going to get you the result? So, having a vasectomy, no children. No vasectomy, many children, right? This is known. So, this is what you need to know. And based on your value system, this is where the bachelor life comes in. You need to know yourself. Are you trying to live the bachelor's life, or you just want to experience it? Most people want to experience it for a short period of time, right? Most people really believe that the bachelor life is there to search for and find a partner. Just like dating, they think that they're bachelors so that they can date and then go and find a partner. They don't consider that they can live like this forever, right? So based on your value system, are you a bachelor short term? Are you a knee bender full time? Are you going to be a vasectomite, or are you going to go ahead and bend that knee, right? So based on what you're trying to achieve, you need to make a decision, right? And you need to prioritize, okay, so what's at the top of that list? For me, at the top of that list was self-preservation. It was not the preservation of family, community, country, nation, humanity, right? Those things actually, I think family was like number 12 on my list, right? Like video games came before family, and I never play video games. So, it just tells you. It's just a question of priorities. I'm not saying that I'm right. I believe that I'm right. Of course, I wouldn't be following a philosophy that I didn't think was correct. Um, that being said, I'm just telling you what my priorities are. And a wife and kid, I think it was 12 or 14. Really, it was so insignificant to me, I can't even remember what it was. But I know that it was part of like a list of choices that I was given. And it was right at the bottom of the list. Number five is choose among alternatives. So now you have your alternatives. You weighed out the evidence. You know what the one is against the other, right? Once you have weighed all the evidence, you are ready to select the alternative that seems to be the best one for you. You may even choose a combination of alternatives. And this is what many people do. Many people try to choose a combination of things, right? Oh, yes, this is so true. Let me finish this and see what they say. I'm curious what they're gonna finish, how they're gonna finish. Your choice in step five may very likely be the same or similar to the alternatives you placed at the top of your list at the end of step four. Okay, so not much missing there. Back to these alternative combinations, right? Or combination of alternatives. This was something that I did, and this was a mistake. I'm going to tell you this was a mistake, and I was fortunate to survive. I had a certain outcome that I wanted, a very self centered outcome. I wanted to have a counterpart, but I didn't want to have a child with that counterpart, but I wanted to be intimate with that counterpart. But I also wasn't prepared to get a vasectomy. Not because I didn't want one, but because it never occurred to me to freeze the sperm. You see, the freezing of the sperm is really what made the difference for me. From the moment I decided to freeze sperm, right, to the time that I went to freeze sperm, it was less than a month, right? And I was on the process to getting a vasectomy, right? And there was a lot going on at that time, right? And all I did was muddy the water so that nobody would see me get my vasectomy, right? But but ultimately, trying to find a combination of things made me create what I would call a Frankenstein type of relationship, where on the one hand, we're kind of committed, but on the other hand, there's no commitment. Where on the one hand, we're being intimate very regularly, but on the other hand, we're trying everything we can to not get pregnant, not get inseminated, not have kids, right? And you have to understand that while my instincts were a certain way, the counterpart's instincts were completely different. And so it created some confusion within the counterpart to see my behavior a certain way towards certain things, and then my attitude behind that behavior is something completely different. So while the behavior indicates one thing, the attitude indicates something completely different. This is what you're going to end up by choosing different alternatives. And eventually, you're going to end up bending that knee. Think of the different situations where men and children find themselves in. So on the one hand, you could be married with children. On the other hand, you could be divorced with children. And you could be then remarried with children to somebody who doesn't have children. You could be remarried with children with somebody who does have children, or they could be marrying, but marrying you who doesn't have children and they have children or a child, and then you get married together and then you have a child together, and then now that's a whole situation. Not to mention you could be both remarrying with children and then have children. Then you could be single and dating somebody with children, right? Or they could be single dating you with children, right? And or you could be like a stepfather type of figure, right? And not be married, right? Or you could just date people with no children. I mean, it's a whole mess. This is ultimately where you get when it comes to trying to find a combination of things. You're going to find a combination of bad choices and then mix up those bad choices. If you cannot find a simple solution to your problems, that means you haven't found a solution. All you've done is just move from one problem to the next. Yes, sometimes you get complicated problems to complicated solutions, but the outcome has to be simplicity. You can't have a complicated solution to a complicated problem and then the outcome is more complications. It has to be, the outcome has to be simplicity. And freezing your sperm, getting a vasectomy is simplicity. Bending that knee, or you're going to find out that you are going to find so many combinations of alternatives. And in the romance war, combinations of alternatives is called compromise. In other words, you're going to have to give up something again and again and again until you have nothing more to give up. Then what you'll be doing is giving everything to them. Just be prepared for that. Number 6 is to take action. And I say this all the time. Action is the only power that can change reality. So you must understand that if you don't get that vasectomy, that is an inaction. That means you have changed nothing. Benderism is what you are going to do. You're trying to prevent benderism. That's what you're trying to do. So you're going to bend that knee. If you haven't got a vasectomy, you got to bend that knee, right? You got to bend the knee. The action to take is to freeze sperm and get a vasectomy. If you don't do this, you're bending the knee. I'm telling you, you are going to bend that knee. And when you do it, you're going to think it's the right thing to do. When for years of your life you believed you didn't have to bend the knee. And you'd be right. You got her pregnant, you got all kinds of things going on, looking straight at you. So you're going to have to bend that knee. Or you can take the action. There's only one action you can take. Well, I mean, it's 2 actions. You freeze your sperm, but ultimately it all comes down to you getting that vasectomy. That's what it's about. Freezing your sperm is there to dissuade you from not getting that vasectomy. But you got to take action. Without taking action, you've done absolutely nothing. You're just waiting for the inevitable. And it's going to happen to you. Oh, it's going to happen to you. Oh, it's going to be so bad. It says now you're ready to take some positive action to begin to implement the alternatives you chose in step 5. So it's either the alternatives that you chose for yourself or the compromises that people have made for you. But the importance of action cannot be overstated. You don't do anything, I promise you, you're just going to suffer. And I, for one, is going to make you bend that knee. In real life, if you see me in real life, I'm going to make you bend the knee. I'm going to be telling you all of the benefits of family. You're going to get support, you're going to get love, you're going to be motivated, you're going to feel unity. And then I'm going to preach to you benderism. You're growing the country, you're growing humanity. I'm going to, and then, you're going to feel feelings like you've never felt before. Really, when you spend time with your kids, it's not like spending time with your friends. It's not even like spending time with your brothers and sisters. It means a lot, right? And you need to take that to heart. And when you become a father, you get an opportunity to experience a type of joy that no other man really experiences. When in truth, every man experiences that, right? I'm benderizing. Right? I don't believe none of that nonsense. But every man gets to experience this, and no man is going to experience that joy. Every man experiences that joy. Every single man is going to experience that joy. Up to 99%. So they tell you no man experiences that joy. You know that's a lie. They're just trying to get you to not get that vasectomy. You need to get that vasectomy. You really do. Um, Step 7, review your decision and its consequences. In this final step, consider the results of your decision and evaluate whether or not it has resolved the need you identify in step 1. Yes, very important. So once you made the decision, and maybe even after you've taken those steps, right, some days, weeks later, you need to evaluate if this has resolved the issues that you've had. For me, the vasectomy resolved the issues that I had. Every single one of those. I don't care if a counterpart is cheating or speaking to another man or being intimate with another man. Really, it doesn't bother me at all. And it's not because I don't care as a man, my ego, blah, blah, blah. Yes, of course, I want to know that I'm the best she's ever had. I'm the most talented, the most gifted, the most experienced, blah, blah, blah. But I know I'm not, right? I know in truth that I'm not. I'm probably not even average, right? And when she looks at me, she's going to see my face. I'm ugly. She's going to say, oh, that's why you hide your face on the internet, right? She's going to understand all my deficiencies all at once. So for these reasons, you need to know, you need to understand for yourself, have I resolved the thing that I wanted to fix? Is this step going to get me to where I'm going? Right? So if you don't get the vasectomy, where is this going to lead you? If you do, where is it going to lead you? Right? You need to understand that for yourself. If the decision has not met the identified need, you may want to repeat certain steps of the process to make a new decision. For example, you may want to gather more details or somewhat different information to explore additional alternatives. This is a very good list, right? So if you are not getting the outcome that you want, I will tell you that the problem here is not the list, right? This is a very, very good list. Number 1 was identify decisions. 2, gather relevant information. 3 was identify alternatives. 4, weigh the evidence. 5, choose among the alternatives. Take action was 6, and then review your decisions and its consequences. If you follow these 7 steps, surely you'll skip 1 or 2. It's up to you. Some of these can be a little bit repetitive. But if you follow these 7 steps and you find that at the end of it, you're not getting the outcome that you want, it's because you lied to yourself, right? If you wanted to do something and followed the steps, you took the action, the chances are you would always achieve that step, or you'd always achieve that outcome, right? This is what happens when you have a combination of alternative outcomes. Eventually, you choose some of the things that you want with some of the things that you don't want, right? And then the things that you do want overshadow the things that you don't want. It's like people who want to exercise and still eat fast food and lose weight. That's not how it works, man. That's not how it works. 30 minutes of exercise is not going to undo 10 hours of eating, right? So, I mean, it's really just not going to work like that. So, you need to make sure that you get the results that you want. And what are the results that you want? You want freedom. You want choice, right? You don't want to be trapped. You don't want to be saddled with debt and responsibility and never-ending bills and then be blamed for the failures of others, which is really what's going to happen to all these benders. You want to keep the end in mind, and you want to make sure that you get the outcomes that you want. But follow this process very carefully and think for yourself, what is the outcome that you want to achieve? Do you want to be a father? Do you want to have children? The only way to prevent yourself from having children in this world at this time is to get your vasectomy. If you still want the option of having children, freeze your sperm first and then go get that vasectomy. Or otherwise, you will be at the mercy of the community, the mercy of society, the mercy of the laws of the state, but worst of all, the mercy of the counterpart, because you did not protect your seed or your solitude. And now you're stuck. Right? And this is exactly what's going to happen. The statistics are there. You don't believe me? You're more than welcome to look them up. 99% of you are going to get married or have kids. Right? 99%, it's either one or the other. It's either you're married with kids or you're married without kids, but you're having those kids. And you're going to have a counterpart in your life forever. And, and when they feel good, maybe they'll celebrate with you or they won't. But when they feel bad, they're coming after you. You know that. And they always feel bad. So, make a decision. It's time for you to make a real decision. If you're a bachelor, you can come join me over here on the Vasectomites, or you can join your dad and your uncle and your grandfather and all your friends, right? And all your teachers and all the police and everybody, all the society, and you can bend that knee. And you can bend that knee for the rest of your life. Because even if you divorce, even if you finish paying that child support, even if you stop doing all of that, right? Even if it's all over for you, you still got to put that kid through college. You still got to make sure he's got a place to stay. You still got to make sure he's got food to eat, and they're going to be there forever. Every time they make a mistake in life, they want to rebuild, change a direction, do something different. You are going to be the one that they land on and jump off of. To just remember that. This is for life. You have kids, it's for life. And don't have a second and a third and a fourth and a fifth. Don't be like that actor who went and had kids at 83, 84 years old. Right? I mean, that's just going to be terrible. You're going to be 80 years old. He's going to be like 98 years old chasing down teenage boys. No way. I'm not doing that. I've already made my decision. I'm speaking from a person, I'm speaking from a safety, from the position of knowing that I cannot be defeated in the romance wars. This is why I can't really be pretending to have the plight of the bachelor, trying to think, am I going to find the right woman? No, I'm not. No, never, no. You know what I mean? Never, not at all. It's not going to happen. It's not something that I have to worry about. I got a vasectomy. There's no right woman. All of them are the wrong woman. You know what I mean? And the problem with you is you're looking at all the wrong ones, trying to find the right one. The impossible calculation. And it's going to be very difficult to pull off. Not like a vasectomy. Vasectomy is guaranteed success. And I guarantee you peace of mind. I really guarantee you peace of mind, as I have it now, and I will enjoy it for the rest of my life. While you are trying to find the right woman and avoid inseminating the wrong woman. It's going to be hilarious. And all the while, I promise you, I'll be telling you, go ahead and date. I'll be telling you, you got to get married. If you have kids, get married, settle down. Because you have to bend that knee. Otherwise, you're just going to cause havoc. Without a vasectomy, that's all you're going to do is wreak havoc. So, I'm going to make you bend that knee. Get the vasectomy so I won't have to be out here making you bend the knee. Thank you for your time and your attention. I appreciate it. And this is the end of the video. I am the Bachelor Supreme, the Ancient One. And I thank you once again for your time and your attention. I appreciate it. And I always will. And I'd like to wish you, as usual, a lovely, lovely day.